Hey guys, today's September 10th. We're going to be going over functions. So looking at the first one, it says you have four ordered pairs, 0, -4, -2, 3, 1, 3, and 2, 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and input them into our table. So again, all you have to do is double click. So we're just typing in our table the values that they gave us. So 0, -4, -2, 3, the next value was 1, 3, so 1, 3, and then lastly we have 2, 0. So we're just making sure that from a set of ordered pairs that you can put it into a table and that you can also graph it. So next we're going to go ahead and work on graphing. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see my screen. So looking at the first ordered pair we had was 0, -4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my scribble tool right here. And when I click the scribble, I want to put a dot at 0, -4. So 0 down to -4, I'm going to click it and I'm just going to scribble a whole dot right there at 0, -4. Another way you can do this is you can go to your shapes and you can click a circle, and you can also put a circle on top right there. So once you put your circle, you might want to make sure to fill it in and put it like a certain color, red or whatever color you choose. You can do that as well. Okay, so we have a point at 0, -4. Next, we have a point at -2, +3. So we're going to go left 2, up 3, and we're going to put a point. So I'll go ahead and use the circle since it was a lot nicer. So -2, 3. So I'm going to put a dot there. Again, I'm going to make sure to fill it in just because it'll make it darker instead of white. And then we also have a dot at 1, 3 and 2, 0. So I'm going to go 1, 3, over 1 to the right 1, up 3. And then we also had a point at 2, 0. So again, making sure that we color that in so we can see it. And then lastly, 2, 0. So back here, 2, 0. And again, I'm going to color it in so we can actually see it. Okay, so we should be able to, from a pair of ordered pairs, a set of ordered pairs, you should be able to make a table. You should be able to graph those points. And then lastly, we have what's called mapping. So mapping is just a bubble diagram of what we had there. Let me make sure that we fit this so you can actually see it. Okay, so mapping, we want to make sure that we put all of our values in our input, and then we go ahead and show what the output leads to. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a text box since there's not a text box right here. And when I insert that text box, it lets me type whatever I want. Again, these notes are your notes, so feel free to move things around, to insert text boxes wherever you need to input your work if you want to, highlight, or whatever you would like to do to your notes, okay? So our X values were 0. I'm going to put enter, -2, enter, 1, enter, and then 2. These were all of our X values, okay? So I can go ahead and highlight these and make them a little bit larger so that they're a little bit more spread out and fill up that whole box, okay? You can go ahead and mess around with your color. If you wanted to make it a different color, that is totally up to you. Again, these are your notes. You can customize them however you choose, okay? So here, our output values are what does it lead to? So 0 is going to -4. So what we're going to do is we're going to put another text box, and I'm going to put my outputs. That's what does 0 point to? Well, 0 goes to -4. And we also had a 3, so I'm going to put enter, a 3. And then notice that there's 2 3s. You only put it one time. Don't write 3, 3, 3, 3 over and over. You don't do that. You just put, I have a 3 as a Y, and I have a 0. Okay, so those are my output values. So now I'm just going to make them a little bit larger so we can see them. And again, they're more spread out. Okay, so now that we have our Y values, okay, our X values and our Y values, we're going to use our arrow. So we're going to go over here and we're going to use an arrow to show that 0 goes with -4. Okay, so you'll notice that it puts a little arrow there showing 0 goes to -4. I need another arrow to show that -2 goes to 3. Okay, drag it where you need it to go. And 1 also goes with 3. So whenever I draw my arrow, I'm going to put another 1. 1 also goes with 3. And then lastly, I have 2 goes with 0. So 2 goes to 0. I'm going to make this one a little bit closer to see that it just does go to 3. Okay, so these are our functions. We should be able to have a list of ordered pairs, make a table, look at a graph, and figure out our mapping values. And it does have a little explanation for your mapping. Again, it says without repeats. So if you have a number that goes over and over and over, you just write it one time. You don't need to repeat it over and over. So page 2, function or not. So identify whether the graphs, coordinates, and tables or maps are functions or not a function. So when we have a graph, in order to tell if it's a function or not a function, we call, it has to pass what we call a vertical line test. So what that means is if I were to draw a line vertically, so up and down through my problem, it should only hit one point at a time. So what that means, let me go ahead and redraw the line. When I draw a line vertically, it should only hit one dot. So every vertical line that you draw on your map can only hit one dot at a time, okay, in order to be a function. If it hits more than one dot, it is not a function. So here, whenever I went to draw my vertical lines, it only hit one dot at a time, so we call that a function. So I'm going to put F for function. Okay, let's look at E. I'm going to kind of jump around here. If you're looking at E, your goal is the same process. If I were to draw a vertical line through the dots, vertical means up and down, do I hit only one dot at a time is my question. And I do, yes. So that is a function as well. But look at K. If I draw a line vertically, it hits one dot here, and then the last one, if I were to draw a vertical line, you'll notice that I have 2 dots right here stacked on top of each other. That means that it's not a function. So here, going back to E, it only hit one dot at a time, so we call this a function. K is not a function, so it can only hit 1 point at a time. B, if I were to draw on B a vertical line, notice that there's already a vertical line. So that means that I have a whole bunch of dots that are actually stacked on top of each other. So for this one, if you have a vertical line, it's not a function, okay? So what that means is if I go to B, I would have a dot right here, a dot right here, a dot right here, a dot right here. All the dots are on top of each other to form that nice perfect line. So that would make that not a function. So B is not a function. Let's look at C. On C, if I were to draw a vertical line on C through the circle, you'll notice that it hits the circle at the top. It also hits the circle down here. So because it hits twice, that's not a function. So C is not a function. Let's look at D. 0 goes to 2, 0 goes to 3, 5 goes to 4, and 10 also goes to 4. Okay, when you have a mapping, in order to determine if it's a function or not a function, we say that the x's don't repeat. So I'm going to write that down at the top. Your x's don't repeat. And you can go ahead and type that in. Oh, that looks really ugly. So let me just go ahead and type it in. So I'm going to show you what that would look like if we were wanting to type that in. So if we were to type it in, you were just going to grab a text box right here, insert it, and I'm going to put in x's don't repeat. Okay, what that means is you want each x value to be unique or different. So looking right here at D, if I were to make a table of values from what I am given, okay, if I were to make a table of values with x and y, 0 goes to 2, 0 goes to 3, 5 points to 4, and 10 points to 5. Looking at those values, my goal is to figure out, are all of my x's different? So looking right here, at these x values, I have 2 zeros. So because those two repeated, this is not a function. If I were to graph it, if I were to graph 0, 2, I would go up 2. And then if I were to put a point at 0, 3, you'll notice that it'll have 2 dots stacked on each other. That makes it not a function. So this is why it's not a function. I want all of my x's to be different. So these aren't different, so not a function. Let's look at f. F is a little bit different because if you look at those numbers, you'll notice that 1 is pointing to, 1 points to 6. Sorry, I couldn't see that, guys. X and Y. So 1 points to 6, but 3 also points to 6, and 5 points to 6. So if you look at all of your x values, my goal is to figure out, are all of those x's different? 1 went to 6, 3 went to 6, 5 went to 6. Yes, all of the x's right here are different. Even though the y's are the same, we don't care about the y's. We only care about the x's not repeating. So here, this is a function. So I'm going to put f is a function. G, -1, 2, and 5. Again, I only care about the x's. Don't let the y's confuse you. So I really don't need those y values there. I just need the x's. My goal is to see, are these all different numbers? Yes. So because they're all different, this is a function. Okay, let's go to H. Here we have a graph. Again, when you have a graph, you want to make sure that when you draw a line vertically up and down, that it only hits 1 point at a time. If I were to draw a line up and down, it were to only hit 1 point at a time. So this is a function. I, if I were to draw a line up and down through the graph, it would only hit 1 point at a time. So this is also a function. J, on J, you have a whole bunch of ordered pairs. Remember that you only care about the x values. So if I only care about the x values for my graph, I'm sorry, I lost my page. There we go. If I only care about the x values, that means I only care about the first number. So -1, 2, 3, and 8. I want to make sure that those are all different. I don't care about the y value, so notice that I'm marking out the second one. I don't really care about that value. I only care about the first. -1, 2, 3, and 8. Those are all different numbers, so this is a function. So f. The last one we have is L. If I were to draw a vertical line through it, my goal is to figure out, would it only hit 1 point? No, it would hit right here and up here at the top. So because it would hit twice or more than one time, this is not a function. So NF. So today you're going to be going through a whole bunch of problems, whether it's a list of ordered pairs, a table, a graph, or mapping, and you're determining, is it a function or is it not a function? Have a great day, guys.